Hey everyone, Jen Broyles here, and today I am super excited to have a friend and a guest with me. Her name is Tera Bucasas, and she is a fellow health practitioner and a yoga instructor, and she is just going to talk a little bit about what she does and how she uses yoga for healing, how she's used it personally, how she uses it with her clients, and just all of the great benefits that you can get from it. So I'm really excited to welcome her. And Tera, thank you for taking your time today to come on and chat with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So you are, first of all, the creator of realfityoga.com and yogaforhealing.com, correct? So a
That
couple
is
websites.
correct. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, awesome. Well, good. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. And, I know me personally, I think a lot of my followers and people who get my newsletter and that sort of thing really like to hear stories. A lot of us out there are struggling in some capacity with our health, and sometimes, it can be frustrating. We can go through periods of just wondering if we're ever going to get better and what we need to do next. And so I'd love to hear your story. Tell us your struggles and how you overcame them.
Well, I agree with you. Story is really powerful. And I think one of the huge things that has helped me is honestly hearing other people's stories. So what I am trying to do a lot is tell my story to hopefully help other people, because it can feel really lonely, right? Like you're just like, am I the only one going through all this crap? Like, why is my body not working? But anyway, so my story is that, like so many of your followers, I bet, I started out with a lot of digestive issues. So constant like bloating and burping. I was known for my burps for a while. Um, and at one point I realized, like, okay, this isn't normal. Like, what's going on? And so I also have a love for food. So I ended up getting into nutrition. Of course, it's like your own pain and also then just some interest in food. And I take the nutritional therapy practitioner program through Nutritional Therapy Association. And it was in there that I really started to connect with how my body worked. And I did a lot of healing, like through just food, which I know you talk a lot about. And I did a lot of elimination diets, and I thought I took care of a lot of my problems, right?
Mhm.
That was like one layer though. So sometimes we we think we got to it, but it's not quite there yet. And so I ended up getting into yoga at the same time and super into fitness. And I got the healthiest, I guess, I felt like I had ever been. I didn't really have any digestive stress anymore, and I was super fit and happy. But the one thing that like never got solved or resolved were my endocrine issues, because I had secondary amenorrhea for years, and I had low libido, and I ended up, I think, burning myself out. Like I was doing crazy amounts of exercise and power vinyasa. So that's a really powerful strength type of yoga. And then I was also eating, like trying keto out and doing all these things. And I had emotional stress. So all of these like piled on each other. And even though I was taking like amazing care of my body in terms of diet and in terms of movement and sleep, something happened where like I completely crashed again. And I ended up with hypothyroid and hyperglycemia, so high blood glucose levels, and entered into this realm of like extreme fatigue and depression that was really confusing, because I thought I was doing everything right. And I'm sure there are other people out there who can relate to the point where you're like, I'm eating the right things. I took out all these foods. Like, I'm taking care of myself. Why? Why is this happening? And for me, it was, I think, a lot of emotional and mental stress and not dealing with that sort of thing, and also continuing to push my body when it told me like it needed a break. I was like, I should be able to do this.
Yeah.
So anyway, I apparently was not able anymore to do the things I wanted to do, and my body completely turned on me. But it was only communicating, so it's okay. So I ended up having to quit doing power vinyasa, even though that's what I got my teacher training in. I took a break from exercise. I mean, I had just competed in a bodybuilding competition. So that tells you how extreme I was into this
Wow.
like
Yeah.
fitness realm. Like that was my identity. So it was hard to say like, I can't do this anymore. But I had to because nothing was working anymore. And my digestion that I had healed from food, like all of a sudden wasn't good again. And I suffered from constipation chronically. And so I started learning about rest and the importance of letting our body have a break and the importance of letting it catch up, and how I knew a lot about like the parasympathetic nervous system. I don't know, does your followers know about the parasympathetic nervous system?
I talk about it a little bit. I've written a few blogs about adrenal fatigue and definitely
Okay.
talk about the sympathetic versus parasympathetic, but I think it'd be
Yeah.
great if you went into that a little bit because
Okay.
it's so important.
Yeah, it is. So in the parasympathetic nervous system state, that's a state of relaxation. That's when our body is able to digest and it's able to rejuvenate. It's when it detoxifies. It's basically when it's like rebuilding and doing all those really essential things that we need for health. And sympathetic is more of a stress state. And that's when our body can go into fight or flight. It sort of turns off all things like digestion and detox because it can't focus on both at once. And I was running on this sympathetic state. Like I was constantly like, again, exercising, and had emotional stress. And since I was keto, I wasn't eating any carbs, which is in some ways can be a stressful state if you have other things going on. So I had to learn, even though I knew intellectually parasympathetic was good, it was hard to actually practice. And so I started to explore other types of yoga. And I think that for me, that like tremendously helped me heal because it allowed me to find that parasympathetic state in myself and give myself permission and time to get there. Whereas in my past, I was a power girl. So it was like no rest. We're doing handstands and we're balancing and doing inversions and getting into crazy things. So I started researching and I did a lot of gentle and yin and restorative and alignment-based yoga that was geared towards like oftentimes older generations and just broadening my horizons. And it was there that things sort of started to come together, right? Like my mindset shifted in this space and I was still taking care of my food, and it started like my digestion started to get a little more on track. And granted, of course I was doing as much else as I could in support of my digestive system and things like that, like taking enzymes or stuff. But sometimes no matter what you take, it doesn't matter unless you can allow yourself to access that parasympathetic state and let your body rejuvenate. So anyway, I ended up really learning about self-care, and I got like a self-care kick. And from that is where this thing that I've created recently, Yoga for Healing, was born. It was just giving people permission and space and guidance in how to allow their body to heal from the inside. And learning how to do that, I guess, on your own, because we have so many people telling us what to do, but sometimes the answers lie within ourselves. We can't really listen unless we're allowed to like be quiet and just rest. So, yeah, that's really long and short of it.
No, that's awesome. And just so many things you said in that, I completely resonated with, and I think a lot of people will. I mean, just the fact that, you said you had cleaned up your diet, you were eating super clean, you were taking the right supplements, but you were crashing and burning, and I have experienced that. And I know a lot of people have, like, you feel like you're doing everything right. Why is nothing
right?
working? What is going on? And so much of it, I mean, chronic stress is the root of all disease. Like if you don't get that under control, then you're not going to get better. And, there's so many different types of stressors out there. For you, it sounds like it was some emotional and mental stressors along with just overexerting yourself, like doing too much, too high intensity physical activity. And And I think it's so great that you recognize that, you know, and
Well, it takes a while.
it does. A lot of times we're stubborn and we're like, oh no, I can
Yeah.
push through it. It's all good. But finally you listened to your body and you took a step back. And so, I'm just curious because I know I've felt this way before and I still do now sometimes. Did you ever get those feelings of guilt when you were taking time to rest?
Always. And I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I still struggle with it sometimes. It's not like I'm 100% like perfect at this, like this is hard because our society is so hell bent on being like, produce, go hard, put your all into it. It doesn't really value rest. And so I've struggled a lot with guilt around that, especially when it comes to talking to other people. Like, unless someone else has experienced something similar, they don't understand. And so they kind of look at you like, oh, you're not really doing anything, like not being productive. Like, it's kind of a tone of voice and like a look they give. And maybe that's me being sensitive, but I just get this guilt feeling of like, crap, I should be doing more. But the thing is like, if you don't allow your body to rest, you're not going to be very productive in the long run or do much. And I mean, I think one of the biggest things also for me was the guilt of like, it feels guilty to take care of myself. Like, I want to put everyone else first.
Yeah.
And so realizing and really understanding that like by putting myself first, I'm actually helping other people, because if I'm my best self, like I can help them in a more complete way. Like I can help clients or my students or my friends in such a just in such a bigger way if I feel good. If I have nothing to give, like you can't. So yes,
Yep.
answering your question, I deal with guilt. And I think that it's just a constant practice. I don't know if anyone's ever perfect at it, but as long as you recognize that it's happening, that's like your first step, right?
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Completely agree. Now, I'm curious how, when you realized you needed to take a step back, reduce your intensity, maybe not do the power vinyasa yoga, but maybe try something else and just rest your body. How did you go about finding like that nice balance of activity? Because I know sometimes when we're not feeling well, like we are just chronically fatigued and have these digestive issues and stressed out and we just don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times we don't want to do anything. And both extremes can be harmful.
Totally.
The 0% activity and the 100% crazy physical activity. Like, how did you go about finding that nice balance?
Well, being that I'm usually an all or nothing person, at first I did swing in the other direction. And I mean, I think that in some ways I look back and think that it needed to happen for a little bit because honestly, like what my body was saying, like I literally could not get out of bed it was hard for me to like get out of my house for a while. And at that point it was like walking was my form of exercise. And of course that was like it was confusing and hard, but like I did go to the other extreme for a little bit of time. And I think the hardest part was trying to find like after that rest period where I did nothing, like when was it okay to introduce some movement and how much, and when did I back off? So for me, it was like I obviously knew it wasn't going to be weightlifting anymore and it wasn't power vinyasa. And so at first, again, it's like I tried out like long walks and I felt good after that. It's like you always want to, I think, you talk about adrenal fatigue. It's like after your exercise, you want to feel energized or good, not like crashing. So it's like checking in with yourself about that after each activity. And then with yoga, since it being important to me, I was just seeking out different types and trying them out and then checking in and being like, did that feel good? And not like am I being lazy, but like, did it feel good in my body? Like, do I feel okay? I don't need to like go lay on my bed for the next 2 hours, And so honestly, I think it's really just a learning to like connect to yourself and really get in touch with like, how does my body feel? Which is kind of like hard at first sometimes, but because we have these voices in our head telling us other things, and we have society telling us something, and we also want to be sometimes just lay around. And I think at some point, like it's okay to lay about, not necessarily to like watch. Laziness is like, I just want to lay and watch TV all day. You know,
Right.
it's like
Right.
when your body is tired, you need to like sleep
Hmm.
or, you know, like actually get rest. Like in yoga, there's the end of a practice is called, you do a posture called Shavasana, and it's corpse pose. I don't know if you're familiar. And
No.
literally you're just lying there.
I
And
love that. I love that. That's like my
it's the
favorite part.
best, right? And that's like one of the most important postures because that is when like your body is able to really soak in the benefits and like do its work. So it's like there's not a harm in laying around or resting, but it just kind of depends on like why you're doing it and how you're doing it. I'm not sure if that
That,
made a lot of sense, but like, you know,
yeah.
if you're avoiding something, probably not okay.
Hmm.
Or if you're numbing out. But if your body needs to sleep, your body needs to sleep.
Yep. I completely agree. I think you said that so perfectly. Like there's a huge difference in needing to rest and then just being lazy. And, you know, like you said, like when you were really taking time to recover and repair your body, you would go on long walks. Like I did that for so long, just got outside and went on a walk, you know, and it
Mm-hmm.
was so therapeutic. And,
Yeah.
you know, I still felt like I was, you know, I was getting fresh air, I was getting some physical activity, and I would feel good afterwards. And, you know, slowly started incorporating more, you know, just more variety, like adding in
Totally.
yoga and
Yeah.
things like that. And I definitely had some experiences where I would go to a yoga class. It was probably a little too difficult for me at the time, and I would be exhausted even the next day, you
Yeah.
know, and I was like, okay, that was too much. Like, I don't need to do that yet,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and so it really is just like you said, checking in with yourself and evaluating how you feel. Do you feel rejuvenated? Do you have
Mm-hmm.
energy? That's good. Do you feel exhausted and completely burnt out? Not so good.
Exactly. And I think
So
for me, a big part of it also was reframing like what exercise is, because we have a very narrow view of exercise. Like we see
yeah.
all of these like intense things. And I kind of had to like switch the wording in my mind. It was like, I need to have movement in my life. Because when I thought exercise, it was like, I need to go out and run, you
Mm.
know? But movement is what's important. And movement is exercise. But like for me, reframing the verbiage was like really important to fully accepting like the way things work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, that's perfect. So I know there are a lot of misconceptions about yoga. You know, people have these different ideas of what it is and what it isn't, and
Hmm.
they try to kind of just compartmentalize it in this little box of, you know, one type of exercise. So maybe you can elaborate on that. Tell us what yoga is and what it isn't.
Yeah. Well, it's easy. We always want to compartmentalize, right? It makes things easier on our brain.
Exactly.
But yoga, the thing about yoga is it is so broad. Like there are so many styles. Like it's crazy. And so what I always tell people for one is if you've tried yoga and you hated it, like don't give up. Just like try a different style or a different teacher because it's going to make a complete difference. So yoga in essence, I mean, you can take it as broad as it's a lifestyle or a way of being. But if we're going to narrow it down into the asana practice, which is the posture practice, I mean, I think the big question is what's the difference between doing yoga and just like stretching? Because most people, like you can see yoga as like, oh, I'm just stretching. But the difference is that yoga is a practice that's done with attention and intention. So it's more about like experiencing what your body is going through and you're putting it into intentional movements and really focusing on your breath as opposed to just throwing yourself into things. So oftentimes when I'm stretching, like let's say warming up for exercise, I'm not really thinking about it. Like I'm listening to music or talking with someone or like watching television, and doing things unintentionally is not going to be as effective as really being able to connect to ourselves. So yoga is, on one hand, it's the ability to, it's using postures to quiet our mind and to become present. And it is also just intentional movement. So that's why I think it can be so broad, is some people's intentional movement is like vinyasa. It's a flowing style practice. Some people really thrive in an intentional style movement where it's restorative and you take 3 postures and you sit in them for like, 20 minutes each and you're supported. So it doesn't have to, we don't have to narrow it so much. It's more about like how you come to it and in what way you practice it. It's about feeling your body and really connecting to yourself in the present moment. If that does that kind of come together?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
I think that's great. That is so great. And I know you mentioned how yoga really incorporates deep breathing, and there's such
Yes.
an important part of the breath.
So
So
important.
what are some of the benefits of the breath and deep breathing and focusing on that?
Ooh, I've actually been trying to make a video about this, so this is actually
Really?
a
Oh,
perfect
yay.
question. So our breath is, I mean, it controls our nervous system in a lot of ways. And it also, our emotions control our breath. So it's this crazy powerful thing that we take for granted because we do it every moment of every day. But by taking long, deliberate inhales and exhales, we're actually triggering that parasympathetic nervous system, that more relaxed state. And when we're hyperventilating, having those shallow breaths, we trigger ourselves into a sympathetic or stressed fight or flight state. And honestly, most of the world, well, I can't say that. Most people I know, and most like people in America at least, we tend to breathe in the upper third half of our lungs, so chest breathing. So you'll notice your chest rises and falls instead of coming into your belly. And by doing that, you're constantly, no matter even if you don't have any other stress around you, just that breath will trigger that sympathetic nervous system state, disallowing you to really heal. So the breath is just it's also the biggest way we detoxify every day. So as we inhale, not only are we giving our body and cells oxygen, which brings us nutrients and is essential for our life, but as we exhale, we're getting rid of things we don't need. So the deeper we exhale and the deeper we breathe, the more we're cleansing ourselves, which sounds crazy. I feel like if you don't know much about your breath, it's like breathing can really help my health, but it's like the cheapest and most effective way and the easiest way to really start to heal without doing anything else. Just being conscious to your breath and taking full, deep inhalations and exhalations. So,
Awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty powerful. I love that. Very, very cool. So, in your practice, who do you typically work with? Who are the clients that you tend to help out?
Well, women usually,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much always. um, and in the beginning of my practice, became a lot of weight loss, but I'm sort of reframing things and drawing more people to me that are really sick and tired of this very narrow minded model of health and healing and want a more broad and holistic approach. A lot of times there's a lot of people who are sick of the status quo kind of way of looking at exercise and health and healing and instead want to look for an alternative. For instance, for women, it seems like in order for us to be healthy, people want to say that, we have to exercise a ton and put everyone else before ourselves and eat these certain calorie counting crazy diets.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I guess the people would be the people that are people that are sick of that model and looking for something new, something that could really heal deeply on a deeper level instead of a surface level.
Yeah, awesome. I think there's a lot of people out there looking for that. Now, you mentioned in the beginning that you have an amazing program, and I can say it's amazing because I've done it, and
Which I'm
I
so
think it's awesome. I
excited.
love it. But your program is called Yoga for Healing, and I definitely want you to tell us a little bit about it and
Mhm.
really what makes it so special. Because I mean, today yoga's become very popular. There's a yoga studio on just about every corner.
It's true.
What makes your program different? What makes it special?
Yeah. Well, so the program is a series of 7 videos, and they're full-length yoga practices. And I also added in about 10 modification videos just because I've found that we don't, oftentimes we don't want to modify. We just were like, we're going to get that posture. But it's important, again, to listen to your body. So the way it is special is that it not only deals with yoga asana practice, but we really dive into the emotional aspects of healing. So healing is tough not only in trying to figure out what's going on and how to make it right, but it's hard on on us emotionally and how we relate to the people around us, our relationships, and how we feel about ourselves. Like you kind of talked about guilt, and I know for me a lot of shame came up in healing, and feeling stifled and being able to like talk about what I needed because I felt bad about it. And so there's all these other aspects of healing that come up that in a regular yoga practice or yoga class, like they're probably not going to be that specific, just because that's not the typical thing that people have come to class for. But we really dive into that aspect and give space for that. And it's also it's a gentle practice. You're able to start at your level and sort of work up. And so it's accessible to all stages of healing, whereas a lot of other practices, because it is so popular, they're all about like power, sculpting, toning, sweating. Not to say any of that is bad. It's not bad, but like when you're healing, it's just not necessarily what's going to help you. And what I noticed was that when I tried to look for all these like more restorative things, not only were they really few and far between and hard to find, but oftentimes they were sort of geared towards a demographic that didn't fit me. Like, and I don't say that in a mean way, but it's like you want to feel like you are part of a community, or like people understand what's going on. And when you're surrounded by people that perhaps like aren't in the same mindset or going through the same things, it can feel a bit disjointed, and then you don't quite take away the same things that you could in a practice where the instructor or those around you can fully understand like what is happening, like from a healing perspective. So it's pretty focused on healing, but there's no, you can be a beginner, and you can also be advanced, but in need to let yourself relax. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I agree. I love that it is a more of a restorative yoga practice, and you just feel so good when you're done with it. And yeah, I mean, there's many yoga studios around me, but virtually all of them, it's like power yoga, high intensity, whatever. And
Yeah.
like you said, that's good for some people and it's good sometimes, but maybe not all the time. Like that restorative practice is so essential to healing your body, reducing stress, and just promoting overall wellness, you know? And so I think it's amazing what you've put together. And it really is something, like you said, for all levels, because you kind of touched on this already, but I think there's a lot of people out there, and I've even been in that position where there's some, higher level yoga classes. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to try that out, but I'm scared, so for those people that are curious about yoga, but maybe they feel intimidated, they think they're not flexible enough or they're not strong enough.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
What would you say to them?
Oh, well, it's not a requirement. Like there's no requirement to yoga. Like with practice, you might gain, like, you will gain flexibility and strength, but never is that a requirement. Like yoga is not about just being flexible or being able to like put your foot behind your head. So like it always hurts me when people allow that to stop them, because this is how you can get to that place if you so choose. And yeah, it's for everyone. Honestly, like some of my favorite classes I teach are to beginners, because they walk in like kind of not knowing what they're getting themselves into, or nervous, and they always walk out just like, oh, that was really awesome. Like that was great. Like I can't wait to do it again. And it's such an amazing feeling. So anyone can do it. And like in the videos and in the, it's a membership site. So I always tell people, like, you can always modify. You can always skip a posture. You can always take a break. There is no shame. Like no one's trying to keep up with anyone. And as long as you are being really aware of your breath and your body, and then you're still doing the yoga. Even if you are sitting down in a comfortable seat or lying down in Shavasana, as long as you're here in the present moment, like you're still participating and you're still getting the benefits. So if you don't have flexibility yet or strength yet, it's okay. You'll build it up. Don't worry.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I want you to tell people where they can learn more about your Yoga for Healing program. And I also want you to talk about kind of the special giveaway this month, because I think it's National Yoga Month. And so you've got a pretty cool special going on. So tell us all about that.
Yeah, so it's National Yoga Month. Yay. So I'm really glad that you guys get to hear about all this. You can go check out the program at It's yoga-for-healing.com. I know it's a little crazy with all the dashes, but you got to do some things to get the right URL.
Yep.
And so for the remainder of September, the program will be on sale for $37. And then once September is over and National Yoga Month is over, it's going to go up and it'll be $97. So either way, I'd love to have you on board. But yeah, that's the special.
I mean, that's incredible. You can't go to like one yoga class for like less than $20. So the fact that you're getting like six, right? Six
Seven.
yoga sessions, seven, sorry,
Yeah.
seven awesome yoga sessions for $37 is just pretty amazing. Plus a lot of other great stuff is involved in the program. It's not just the videos. There's a lot of other resources. So
you get a like ebook that sort of tells you about like the focus of every practice, and you get a posture list, and then you get a little yoga journal, just because writing after your yoga, like things usually come up, and that's really nice. But National Yoga Month, it's all about just like getting awareness out there. So I want it to be accessible to as many people as possible.
Awesome. No, that's so cool that you're doing that. And I will also put a link in the blog as well, so people can access the program and learn more, and tell everyone how they can connect with you.
Yeah, I would love to connect with people. So like Jen mentioned at the beginning, I also have a blog, and it's just realfityoga.com. And there I talk about a number of things, everything from body image and travel to nutrition and yoga. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Tera Bucasas, and my name is spelt probably not easily. So it's TeraBucasas. You can go ahead and put that in the blog if you want, because no one will probably be able to.
I will put those links in there.
Yeah. Then on Facebook, you can follow my page at Real Fit Yoga. So that's pretty simple.
Awesome. Well, this has been such a treat chatting with you. Is there anything else you want to add?
Just to be kind to yourself and be patient. Remember that you are getting there, but things usually take a little longer than we would like. So just keep moving forward. Don't be discouraged.
That's awesome. That is so true. Well, Tera, thank you so much for taking your time today to chat with us and share all of your yoga knowledge and sharing your story. I really appreciate you opening up to all of us. It really means a lot.
Well, thank you for having me. It was really fun to be able to talk about it.
Yes, great times, great times. Well, good. Well, yeah, everyone watching, be sure to go check out her Yoga for Healing program, and I promise you will love it. So thank you again, Tera, and we'll talk soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.